Hi everyone, Shona here with another episode of my devlog, and I've managed to get a couple of interesting things done over the past week. The first one that you'll see here is I've redone a lot of the interface. It was starting to get a bit out of hand with buttons all over the place. So we now have things a lot tidier. The save and load functions are now in a proper options menu. We have a settings menu, which at the moment doesn't really do anything, but the one thing it does do is turn the little frames per second counter on and off. We also have a frames per second counter now. But the interface for that is set up for when I actually implement being able to change those things. World currently doesn't do anything, that's coming. And the other big change is that now instead of one great big long list of buildings, we now have them sorted into various categories. And the other nice thing about this is that this is happening programmatically. Instead of having to go into Unity and manually create a button and hook it up to a function to say, button do this, now when the list of buildings gets read in, each building has a little tag in it that says what category does it belong to, and the menu automatically makes the category buttons and then populates them with the appropriate building buttons. So that's been a really interesting journey to go down this past week. It turned out to be a lot more complicated than I had expected it to be, and shout out to my best mate Phil, who listened to me complain about the problems that I was having, and from a place of absolutely no technical knowledge whatsoever, managed to come up with a potential solution which, while I haven't used it exactly as presented, did at least put me on the right track, so thanks Phil. The other thing that I've done this week, the other big thing, is I've now started to work more on production chains. So before I had the mining station producing metal bars directly. Now I have a metal smelter. The mining station produces metal ore, which gets taken to the metal smelter, and after an interval, we produce metal bars. So it's a pretty basic system at this point, but it acted kind of as a proof of concept to say, yeah, it's actually not that hard now with the way I've got things set up to add in these sort of production chains. So further down the track, it'll be a lot easier to flesh out the game and make it a lot more interesting to play. Most of the other things I've done this week have been small quality of life changes, and for that I mostly mean my quality of life, because they're things like creating wrapper functions so that I can keep the code easy to read, and a lot of that sort of thing. So this has actually been a pretty good and productive week. The menu stuff took a lot longer than I was expecting, but I don't feel that there was a great deal of head desking involved in this one. It never felt like I had gotten stuck with no way forward. It always felt like I knew what I needed to do, I just had to figure out the way to do it. And that's encouraging too, after, the past few months that I've had. So I'm starting to feel more and more optimistic about this game. Oh yeah, other new feature. Now, as you'll see over here, all of my people get a random name. I think that, yep, there's a few people in there. So the description is still hard-coded and was just pinched from somewhere else, from another project. So it makes no sense in context. But the point is, I've started on the first step of making my faceless little pawns into individuals. It's a really basic step, and at the moment they only get one name. Later down the track, I'd like to be able to do things like, keep track of families and have them have their own family names that continue down and that sort of thing. But for now, at least, it's at least enough that I can, for example, as I'm doing stuff, say, alright, what's Arian doing now? So yeah, that's been this past week. And at the moment, I still don't have clear plans for what I'm doing in any given week. A lot of it is sorting through my notes and saying, oh yeah, that looks like fun to try and develop, let's give that a go. Or it involves doing something else and coming across something in the code and thinking, ugh, don't like the way I did that, need to change that. And then going and spending a day or so tinkering with it until it works the way I want it to. So at the moment, I'm still kind of poking around like that. I have my two big up-and-coming features that I want to implement. The first of which is a needs system for my colonists, and the second of which is the magic system. And in both of those cases, they are great, big, complicated things that I'm a little bit reluctant to dive into, given the way my headspace has been lately. So that's why I've been concentrating on the smaller features that I felt I could get some quick and easy wins with, just to build confidence, build my enthusiasm back up again. But the one thing I recognise that I have to be careful of is that that doesn't translate into never feeling like I'm at the right point to start. So I think I'm going to at some point have to set myself a definite deadline that says, no, you need to get started on this, because otherwise it's just never going to get done. But at the moment, that's a problem for future me. So I think that's it for this week. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like it. And if you'd like to keep track of the development of this project, please consider subscribing to my channel so that you'll be alerted of new videos. Thanks. Bye and take care.